Hello, everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to be continuing with the previously introduced topic, which is mathematical lessons from planting beans. My name is Nkem Sinachi Ago from the Montessori Home Education Academy, and I'm happy to have you here join me for this very interesting topic. So if you haven't seen the previous video, I'm going to link it. It's very good to start from there, but we're going to go through about eight benefits of planting beans with your child, and not just benefits, but the mathematical aspect of it, because as part of our Montessori home education program, one of the cohorts were doing mathematics for the month, and then one of the activities was to plant beans. So I wanted to discuss this in more detail because it might sound funny to some people. Planting beans, mathematics, I expect to be counting and doing other more important things. So we're going to go right in. The first lesson is understanding sequence. Now you might, of course, with mathematics, we have sequence and series, so that's definitely a mathematical thing. And with planting beans, you have also understanding that it starts from the bean seed and then it sprouts, then you have the leaves, and knowing that one thing comes after the other, which means if you have done that activity with your child, you can, for instance, get pictures of bean seeds, pictures of beans plant, and even pictures of the bean pod, and say, okay, arrange this in order, arrange this in sequence. What comes first. And if you've seen my video where I talked about the importance of layering information, and when we try to teach our child a new concept, being able to say, remember how we did this before, or remember this is just like this or just like that. The more experiences our kids have with real life activities, the more we can teach them even more complex activities. Mathematics is not excluded. So understanding sequence is the first one, and the second one is understanding cycles. Now, again, similar to the previous one of sequence, we have beans basically begets beans, right? So the bean cycle continues unless it is interrupted. You have the beans, you have the plant, you have the fruit, and then it goes back again. Beans, plant, fruit, that way, almost like the chicken and egg example. So it's a cycle, and in mathematics, of course, we have cycles. In science, we have cycles. In life, we have cycles. So this is just from planting beans. And even a circle, which is not much different from a cycle, is continuous. Being able to understand that it's a continuous thing unless it is broken or interrupted. Now you can explain this to your child. Even planting beans can be done at any age. Even if you're backing the child, baby is so small, they can see that happening. And if you're talking to the child, they're hearing you, they're picking it up and registering it. Gradually they begin to understand what is going on. So understanding cycles is a second lesson that can be learned from planting beans. The third one is problem solving. So problem solving, mathematics is full of problems, right? In fact, it's called math problems for a reason. Now, what is problem solving? Once we have anything that it's almost like when we have a project to do or when we have something we want to accomplish. Now, for planting beans, you can say, okay, there are so many ways we can go about getting beans, right? We can either buy it, we can plant it, or we can just, I don't know, decide to pick it up from somewhere. But we can say, okay, how can we get these beans? We say we want to plant it. Okay, where do you plant it? Um, what do we need to plant it? I think I talked about it before, how if we ask our children, for example, where does beans come from? That would actually tell us how much they know or how little they know. If they haven't followed us grocery shopping before, they might not even realize it. To just be like food just appears, right? The adults in the house, they make it happen, and that is it. So some of these activities, being able to involve them from the start, they can see that, okay, there's a problem, we want beans. How do we make it happen? Where do we plant it? Do we need light? Do we need air? And I think I also mentioned previously in a different video how you can even have a control and the other one where one of them will be facing the light, maybe by the window, and the other one will just be in a dark room, and you see that one of them doesn't germinate. So that is a clear lesson without even too much effort. Planting beans, basically soak the beans, put it in a paper towel, put it in a glass bottle or a plastic jar, and that's it. It sprouts by itself. The beans itself is nutritious enough to make the plant grow. So you can even do that no matter the season, no matter the weather, and being able to decide the container to use, it's all problem solving. Where to put it is problem solving. And then how to keep it growing. You're putting water or you're not putting water. What happens if you don't put water, right? These are all problems, and helping the child to begin to think and realize, using their brain for thinking and not just thinking that, not just feeling like the adults just know how to do everything. Involving them in these simple activities are very helpful. Now, the fourth one we're going to talk about is executive functioning. So this is almost becoming like a buzzword, but it's really very simple. Executive functioning is simply being able to plan, execute, monitor, and control an activity. It's almost like, think of it like project management. But in this case, children are able to build this skill even from an early age once we involve them in such decision-making activities or such planning activities. So for planting beans, of course, we mentioned there's a lot of planning involved, which is part of the problem solving, executing, even monitoring the beans, watching it grow. Every morning they run to it, they're excited to check, is it growing yet? What has changed? Is it sprouting? How many leaves do we have now? Do we need to water it? Oh, we forgot to water it today, we forgot to water it yesterday. Maybe if you have two or three, you can even see which one is doing better based on where it was planted. And so basically, executive functioning is an essential skill for problem solving and for making decisions. And like I mentioned, project management. So project management is something I've done for several years as well. And it's really just all about that. You have a project or a client comes to you, they need this, they want to solve this problem, or they want to achieve this goal. And then you start thinking, okay, what do we have? What is needed? How do we get there? How much time do we have? What's our goal? What's the quality you need to achieve it, right? So these are all the things we are looking at. You want to plant beans. How many do you want to plant? Um, what do you want to achieve? When do you need to plant it? If you're taking it even a step further, right? Are you just planting it to watch it grow? And then, maybe it's during winter you planted it. So after a while, there's only so much it can grow within the house. But you can always try as long as there's sunlight. So even timing the planting, if you're going into something more detailed, it's very important. Now the next one, so we've looked at understanding sequence, part of planting beans, mathematical lessons, understanding cycles, problem solving, executive functioning, project management skills. Another one is counting. So like I think I've already mentioned that as well. When you want to plant beans, oh, how many bean grains, seeds can we plant? You can if give the children, oh, let's count it. You plant your own, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever number they are. And even when the beans start sprouting, look, there's one sprout. And from the sprout, you see the leaves come out. How many leaves do we have? One, two. Oh, mine has two, yours has three. I mean, according to how they can count or how you can help them to count. Again, this is why you equally need to be invested in the activity, no matter how simple it is, no matter how mundane it looks. Your participation is so key, is so much more important, and determines, to a great extent, how much they actually pay attention to the activity and how much they can learn from it. So there are so many things that you can count during the process of planting beans, growing beans, watching it, monitoring it, and even watering it. Another point is understanding branches and subsets. Now, branches in the literal sense of it, the first, I would say, context the word comes under is for plants, right? So plants have branches. In mathematics, of course, we had talked a lot about branches, we talk about subsets, and it's easier when you want to explain a branch of something in mathematics to a child, and you can say, oh, just like the trees or just like the plant. Now, trees are nice. Yes, you can show your child this tree has branches, but there's a difference when a child actually feels that they have participated in making that beans come to life, right? In watching it from the start to the finish. Trees are already there most of the time. It's not every day you get the opportunity to participate in planting a tree, right? But they can plant these beans in their own home. They can see how it happens. They can see this is literally branching off of this. They can see that the fruits are being produced. They can see that all of this is it's all part of the same thing, part of the same plant, which takes me to the next point. Understanding parts, whole, components, composite, the whole concept, both the vocabulary that goes with it, and the idea that something can be separate and together at the same time. So in numbers, when we did the activity that had to do with number rods, where we talked about straws, using straws and combining them to make 1, 2, 3, almost like a step up to 10. We said it's explaining that numbers are composite values. So 10 is not just arbitrary. It's not just 10 for the sake of 10. 2 is made up of 1 and 1. 3 is made up of 1, 1, 1, or 1 and 2, which also lays the foundation for addition, right? So for plants also, it's made up of the branches, it's made up of the roots, and the leaves and all those other components. So the importance of layering in teaching new concepts, I've said that multiple times. Being able to refer a child to something very simple, something very basic that has become part of their everyday life, like planting beans or planting anything, watering a flower, makes it easy for you to explain something that now sounds as complex as mathematics, which is not really that complex eventually, when you understand that it's really the science of precision, the science of order, and accuracy. I think I shared that Montessori quote during our webinar for the month. Um, and and so yes, that's one of the, I think that's almost like 8 points, benefits from planting beans. Now, even as we are moving to a new month, we're going to be looking at practical life. And in the previous month, we did sensorial. So one thing I want to emphasize is really how all of this is connected. Uh, Practical life sometimes tends to be taken for granted, right? Because you might talk about doing laundry, you might talk about cooking, baking, or pouring from one cup to the other. It looks like, what is going on? How does this help anybody? What is so academic or educative about this? But when you understand that for mathematics, of course, the language is always there. In fact, I saw a joke someone shared one time that mathematics, half of the problem is understanding the language. When they'll say Mr. A borrowed from Mrs. C, and then they went to a bar, and then they came back and did this. Of course, that language is very important. So we started with language in the Montessori home education program, very deliberate. And we followed that up with sensorial. Now, the sensorial curriculum, again, it's easy to take it for granted, right? You might see, depending on how much you already know, you might be familiar with the five senses, and then we now start talking about nine senses. We talk about the stereognostic, the kinesthetic, and so on. And you begin to see how the sensorial curriculum emphasizes to the child how you can differentiate like colors, the different grades of colors. We're talking of light, dark, darker, darkest. So grades are coming up. If we have graphs in mathematics, of course, it's all about ranking, grading. We talk about weight, the baric sense when you're measuring weights, measuring height, you're taking note of dimensions. This is all mathematics, right? But it's coming under sensorial. So sensorial curriculum has led now up to the mathematics curriculum, which we've done a bit of it. And now in mathematics, we emphasize a lot about the importance of understanding and building problem-solving skills, executive functioning skills, decision-making skills, and building concentration. So key. It's hard to do mathematics without concentrating, even to really do anything, make sense of it without being able to concentrate and focus. So practical life is now the next opportunity to start refining those skills, those simple everyday skills for children to be able to be primed, to learn mathematics even as a subject, and even before it becomes some kind of serious subject that they have to start passing exams or whatever it is. When they understand these things in a very basic way, in a low pressure way, remember our focus and our emphasis is really to foster the love of learning. That's really our goal in the Montessori Home Education Academy. We're not trying to teach you everything, or we're not trying to teach you to teach your child everything, because it's just it's too much. There's so much to learn. The focus is to build their love of learning so that they can begin to fish out these things themselves. Children are capable of teaching themselves. So we want to make sure that we create these opportunities, prepare their environment in a way that they can learn, as much as they need to and as much as they are interested in based on their sensitive periods. So these subjects, as we keep going on in the months, just make sure none is taken for granted, because they are all in sequence for a reason, and they are all connected. Every subject is linked to the other subject. Nothing is in isolation, right? So, and then another thing I wanted to encourage us, even as we are moving away from maths to the other months, there are so many hands-on activities we can continue to do, or we can even begin to identify and know that, okay, this is going to help my child build his or her mathematical skills. So the first one is anything that can build concentration and focus. So whether it's your child coloring, whether it's playing with water, anything that you've noticed that they can keep busy at or be engaged in, not just busy, for the longest period of time per their own standards, that is something you want to keep encouraging them to do. Repetition is key. You don't need to always generate multiple activities for your kids. Sometimes they are fine with doing the same thing every week for a few weeks, and then they move to something else. But we may sometimes be worried, oh, they're not doing enough. They need to also be doing this, doing that. A lot of times it's just in phases, right? So focus on building their concentration. That thing that they like doing and you've seen they can do it for a long time uninterrupted. Provide multiple opportunities for them to do that. Building concentration and focus is a very good step for developing cognitive and mathematical skills. The other one is matching activities. Any activity that involves the child matching one and two things. So if you write, for example, 1 to 10 on one sheet and you write 1 to 10 on another sheet, you cut it out and mix it in a bundle, for example, or mix five numbers in a bundle. Then let the child find the ones that are similar. Oh, 1 and 1 goes together, 2 and 2. That is cognitive ability being developed. That is a mathematical skill. So matching anything. If you have two pillows, if you have two pictures that are the same, and you have maybe three sets of that, that is an activity ready to happen. So matching activity is very good for developing math skills and cognitive skills. Sorting activities. So being able to sort, let's say, I think I had shared in the the Montessori education group community on WhatsApp, where my daughter was sorting, I think it was pinto beans and black-eyed beans. So it's similar, the same size. Now, in doing that, she's building her fine motor skills. I think she was around maybe 18 months then. And initially, of course, she wasn't really sorting it well. She was just transferring from one plate to the other. It's all fine, right? She's doing the hand motion and everything. With time, of course, she started understanding, oh, these two beans are different types. And I would now layer it. I'll have two plates. I'll put a sample of the black-eyed beans in one and the pinto beans in the other one. So she could see that, okay, there's an opportunity to sort it this way. And then there'll be the main bowl that has the mixture. So being able to pick and decide, where does this one go? That's decision making going on, and then you put it in the right plate. That's a very big puzzle, which you might see and it's like they're playing with beans. But when you know better, when you understand how these things work, you won't even be looking for toys up and down. You will just be creating these things. So, which is my goal, with the parents. It's not to, again, not to teach you everything. There's an unlimited amount of activities. If we stay from now till tomorrow coming up with, okay, how many matching activities can we come up with? I'm sure with the explanation that I've given you, you would see that you can come up with so many on your own. If we look at how many sorting activities, you can sort beans and rice, you can sort rice and beans. You can sort two varieties of rice. That's even getting it to more detail. Maybe you can sort basmati rice from long grain rice. It means the child has to pay attention. You're developing their visual discrimination skills. It's just it's amazing how much learning can happen in the house. So I want us not to take this for granted. Any activity that involves problem solving. Sometimes it's not even an activity, just something we are doing regularly. Create a problem out of it or create a question out of it. I'm not saying we should start quizzing them. I'm not a fan of quizzing children on things that we didn't teach them. That's just unnecessary setup for making them question their confidence, right? So, um, problem solving, choosing which dress to wear, that's a problem. Do you want the blue dress or the red dress? you know they choose, they make a choice, they are thinking. You want to activate the thinking brain as much as possible. Yeah, so all those activities, hands-on, very key. I know there are some games. Someone might say, oh, there's this app, it helps you develop focus, concentration. I don't know how an app will do that, especially for a child, because as we may have understood from the screen time discussion we had during the sensorial curriculum, watching TV, watching screens, especially for children, is literally like being in a trance. So there is no concentration going on. It's just being absorbed. You're not participating, even when it's like you're jumping around a few things. If you want to do any learning at all, you're better off just going outside. Even if it's for 5 minutes, you're better off just talking with the child, or even just letting the child be beside you is better at this age, very key. So when I say matching activities, sorting, problem solving, concentration, it's more about hands-on activities as much as you can do. I also wanted to share with us some puzzles. Again, if you want to buy puzzles, like even jigsaw puzzles, you want to buy something that is, when we say educational, don't just buy something based on the advert. If it's educational, that's fine. You need to look at what your child is interested in and what you want to help them learn at that particular point in time. So this is an example of a seed puzzle. Now, this is something from the culture and science curriculum. Imagine now with the bean seed, this looks like a bean seed if you can cut the inside when it splits. And this is the sprout. So these are small pieces, removable, you know. You can also use this to explain parts of the seed. So these are all conversations that can happen before planting beans, after planting beans, even if you don't do all the explanation before you plant it. Once that activity has taken place, you can extend it, you can talk more about it, you can bring a new bean seed and say, oh, remember, this is like the bean seed we planted, this and that. Another one I have here is the flower puzzle. Looks like the hibiscus flower, one of the flowers we saw a little too much of growing up. Yeah, and you can see how colorful it is. So you can use this to discuss parts of a flower. Oh, look at the petals. One of the parts I've been emphasizing to the kids, one of them is almost 4, the other one is almost 2, is the petals. I know there's the other one, the filament and so on, but this is pretty obvious. So we're just starting from there. Again, this is a puzzle, you know. Instead of, let's say, buying random jigsaw puzzles, maybe you heard someone's child is completing 50 pieces, 100 pieces. Check the child of your age, check what they're trying to learn, and then look for something similar to it. Again, with the program, you know that we've come across so many materials that you can get toys out of, and then within your house, make sure you exhaust what you already have for creating some of these activities. Just wanted to share one more with us. So it's a set. It has about 5. There's the leaf puzzle, there's a tree puzzle, roots puzzle. Very, very nice and colorful. If you're interested in that, I think I'll provide a link either in the cohorts or in the comments or the video description. So I think we've come to pretty much the end of that. I hope we get a lot of value from this, and we'll be moving on to the next month with a new topic. And please remember, any questions you have, put them in your groups or put them in the comments, and I'll respond as soon as possible. Yes, and I think this was really good. Even as I was preparing this, discussing all the benefits of planting beans, it's giving me more ideas even to discuss with my kids. So I hope you're also able to implement it that way. Remember, take it one step at a time, one day at a time. If you ever feel like you're not doing enough or you haven't done enough, simple thing you can do, just go outside. Every 1 minute we spend outside, it's like the children are learning something. Like they can go to the same spot every day and they pick up something new, right? So let's just keep going at our own pace, continue from wherever you are. Don't worry about going back for just keep going, keep journaling. Make sure you have your journals, whether printed or whichever version, and keep documenting, because it's from documenting that you will see what your children are doing and what they need to learn at any point in time. So until next time, I'll see you all. Make sure you have a good rest of your day. Thank you.